This is our continuing coverage of the passing of Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver. I'm Laura Jones. New Jersey's Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver passed away on Tuesday. She was 71. Her death came as a surprise to many and is a huge loss in New Jersey politics. Oliver was the state's second lieutenant governor, the first black woman to serve in the position, and the first woman of color elected to statewide office in New Jersey. She served in the state assembly and was eventually elected to speaker in 2010. Governor Murphy, who was vacationing in Italy, released a statement. Tammy and I and our children are incredibly saddened and distraught to learn of the passing of our dear friend, colleague, and partner in government, Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver. I knew then that her decades of public service made her the ideal partner for me to lead the state of New Jersey. It was the best decision I ever made. Tributes have been pouring in. Former Governor Chris Christie posted a tweet saying, "I will miss Sheila. She served as my speaker in my first term, and we treated each other with kindness and respect. We got things done. She was a great person and partner." Newark Mayor Roz Baraka says, "Newark is in mourning. We've lost a favorite daughter, cherished and revered. Long before she was lieutenant governor, Sheila Oliver mentored so many in our city with wisdom, compassion, intelligence, and a fierce dedication to diversity, equality, equity, and justice." David Wildstein is the editor of the New Jersey Globe, known as the state's go-to sources for politics in the Garden State. David, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. I'm so sorry they're under these circumstances.
Yeah.
And you knew the lieutenant governor, you knew Sheila Oliver for 30 years. So, can you just talk a little bit about, how you were processing this information and learning about it? It came as a shock to so many.
It's sad. I mean, so many people knew her, and I was just one of many. And, but we both came out of Essex County politics together. And, when you're an Essex person, you just feel a bond with the other Essex people, and you sort of feel like nobody does politics better than Essex. So I always respected the training that came out, but this just been it's been a tough time for the entire state because, whether you're Democrat or Republican or liberal or conservative, you respected Sheila Oliver for being an authentic person and somebody who just had such deep philosophical beliefs that she refused to waver from.
Yeah, and one of the things you touched on, you felt a connection because of Essex County, and I really think the New Jersey political world, it is a small world, and like you said, no matter how much people disagree, there's a lot that ties them together and that they do agree and respect each other for. And I'm wondering if you could speak to any of the tributes or reactions, some of the things you're posting on your own website now from other political figures, from community leaders following this news of Sheila Oliver's passing.
Yeah, and these tributes about a remarkable life are coming from all ends of the state and all the different spectrums. You have people in the same race. Ed Durr put out a nice statement. His opponent John Bersicelli put out a nice statement. Two people that don't agree on very much, but they agreed on Sheila Oliver. This is what you're seeing. You're just seeing this outpouring of shock and this was not something that a lot of people expected to see, and people want to show their love and their admiration for her. And I think it's great that people are doing this without regard to party, without looking at what the politics might be involved in. Diane Allen, her opponent in the last lieutenant governor race, put out something very nice. Carlos Rendo, who ran against her in 2021. I've seen statements from people that ran against her from the assembly, people that were on different sides of the aisle from her when she was the assembly speaker. I think Lieutenant Governor Oliver would have. I think she would have enjoyed the tribute. I think she would have appreciated the fact that people respect her place in history as a lieutenant governor, as a trailblazer. I mean, we can't forget about the fact that she was the first woman of color to ever serve as an assembly speaker. She was the first woman of color, and the first person of color to win a statewide election for governor or lieutenant governor. I mean, she really crossed a lot of boundaries and broke, as they say, broke a lot of glass ceilings in her career. And I think she would probably look at these tributes. I think she'd be honored. I think she'd be pleased. I think she'd say, "Why are you all making such a fuss about me? You should all get back to work. You all have jobs to do." But I think what you're seeing here is absolutely positively deserved.
Yeah. Well, how do you think that the death of the lieutenant governor will impact the political landscape in New Jersey?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get a new lieutenant governor, and that person is maybe going to run a cabinet agency, maybe do something else at the executive level. In New Jersey, you don't just you don't just serve as lieutenant governor. By the Constitution requires you to hold another job. I think the lieutenant governor. Correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, but I think the lieutenant governor is an unsalaried position.
Right.
That the paycheck comes from the full time job that you do, and that was part of what people wanted. They didn't want to create a new office that had nothing to do. They wanted the lieutenant governor to do something. So what you saw with Sheila Oliver, and you talk about what it's going to mean. She ran the Department of Community Affairs. She approved municipal budgets. She was on a day-to-day basis involved in the comeback of Atlantic City and the restructuring of their government. And the next person may have different views.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see, I think you're going to see Phil Murphy move quickly. He's going to appoint somebody who fits in with his ideology. I think you're going to see a governor who has put a tremendous stock in his nearly 6 years in office and in diversity, in racial and gender diversity. I don't think you're going to see Phil Murphy go backwards.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of very, hugely qualified people on a short list for him, and I think he'll make that decision fast.
Right, and he does have 45 days to do so. And again, we want to be very respectful and properly mourn the passing of the lieutenant governor. And at the same time, there are certain deadlines that have to be met. And is there pressure on the governor to appoint someone, considering that in 2 more years, that person could actually run for governor themselves?
Or it's going to depend on who you speak to, and this could change in time. But my view, based upon people that I've spoken to over the last couple of days, is that they don't want Phil Murphy to pick somebody who will suddenly come out of nowhere and be in the race for governor. This race for governor, as you know, it's already underway. And I don't think the governor's intent will be to use this appointment to give one person an advantage over another, or even put somebody new in the race. That being said, this is Jersey, and things happen and things change very quickly. And so you never say never. But yeah, he's got 45 days. Sheila Oliver would have told him to just go fast and
Just go
make
ahead and
this call.
go ahead and do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Final thoughts here as the first woman of color to serve as the Assembly Speaker, and as you mentioned, win a statewide election. What do you think that legacy, Sheila Oliver, what will that be that she leaves behind here in New Jersey?
I think her legacy, aside from the obvious of a career of fighting for social justice issues and equality for disadvantaged communities and for women, and for strong services for seniors and children and veterans, that's all the easy part. I'll tell you, I've been thinking about this a lot since she passed. One of the things I think she's going to be remembered for is the resilience of her political career. This has not been an easy life for Sheila Oliver. She had ups and downs. She won elections. She lost elections. She was a school board member. Then she was an Essex County freeholder. She lost re-election because she was on the wrong side of some party leaders who wanted her to go one way, and she said, "Nope, that's not how I feel. That's not what I believe. I'm going in a different way." She ran for mayor of East Orange and lost the primary by 52 votes in a city that still in 2023 has never elected a woman mayor.
Wow.
She ran for state senate and lost the primary, and then wound up in the assembly and worked her way to speaker. She did 4 years as speaker, and then, as often happens to speakers, she was replaced by a different deal that was made by people outside of her control. And then, sure enough, she is lieutenant governor, and the crowning achievement of her career. And I think she's going to be remembered for the messaging of as a role model, not just for women, not just for people of color, but for those that have setbacks in their political career, to not give up and keep going and keep fighting for what you believe in.
Yeah, she never gave up. David Wildstein
Yep.
of the New Jersey Globe, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to
Thank
us
you,
and share
Laura.
your thoughts and remembrances of the Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you.
John Wisniewski is a former New Jersey state legislator and candidate for governor. He's also worked alongside Sheila Oliver in the assembly and joins us now. Thank you so much for joining us and taking time to share with us some of your thoughts on the passing of Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Do you remember when you first met the Lieutenant Governor?
I first met her the day she got sworn into the General Assembly. Her seat was in the dead center of the Assembly Democratic Caucus room, and she was a quiet legislator. She, in those first days and months being in the Assembly, I think she was getting a lay of the land and understanding how things worked, and she didn't speak very frequently. But as time went on, she became more vocal about issues. And as I've often said in describing her speaking style, she would start out at a conversation, almost a quiet tone, and rise to a crescendo when she concluded.
Right, and she was very passionate about the issues that she cared for, and they were vast. How would you describe Sheila Oliver's legacy, though, in New Jersey politics?
She was an elected official who put people first. She was an elected official who brought with her to her elected office, whether it was local, county, or state, the lessons learned over a lifetime, growing up in Newark, attending Wequahic High School, going to college, breaking barrier after barrier as a young Black woman in America. She understood the difficulties that many of the people she represented faced every single day. And she used those lessons learned in her own life to help raise people up, to make sure that women had adequate access to healthcare, making sure that children had a quality education, making sure that employees had an opportunity to earn a fair wage. These were life lessons that Sheila learned, and these were policy points that she worked to fight for.
Yeah, do you think, or what do you say are some of the key accomplishments or initiatives that really defined Sheila Oliver's tenure as Lieutenant Governor and her time in the State House?
Well, I think that there are two things to look at. One, her time as Lieutenant Governor, she's been an invaluable support mechanism for Governor Murphy. When Governor Murphy took office, remember that he came into state government not really having a long history of relationships with legislators, with legislative leaders. Her skill set, developed as Speaker over 4 years and as a member of the General Assembly, gave the governor the ability to understand how to move his agenda forward. And so the accomplishments of the Murphy administration are really helped and made possible by the skills and the knowledge and the expertise that Sheila Oliver brought to the team as Lieutenant Governor. And I think first and foremost, that will be her legacy. As a legislator, the things that I just talked about, whether it was advocacy for women's health care, whether it was making sure that our school districts had adequate funding, especially the urban school districts where there are so many issues that need to be addressed in our school system that are not necessarily straightforward educational issues. She fought that fight and she was successful.
Yeah. Well, how do you think Sheila Oliver's role as the first Black woman to hold the position of Lieutenant Governor impacted the state and perhaps inspired others?
Well, clearly, when you have somebody like Sheila Oliver rise to the level, let's not forget about Speaker of the Assembly, and then ultimately lieutenant governor. That says to those people who are considering getting involved that this is possible, that this can happen, and that she served as a role model for so many young women who wanted to get involved in government, who perhaps had doubts about their ability to do that. They saw Sheila as a trailblazer, as a role model, and she had a significant impact on a whole generation of legislators and elected officials who came after her.
Yeah, and it wasn't a quick rise. As we quickly in the news kind of recap what she has accomplished as the speaker and as the lieutenant governor, but her rise, it wasn't very linear. She had ups and downs. She's run for mayor, she's run for things, and she's lost primaries, and she still was able to rebound and continue on, and never gave up.
Well, I think that really underscores the nature of Sheila Oliver, because we can get really absorbed in victories and what victories mean. But for an elected official, losses and how you deal with those losses are just as important. She ran for mayor and came close, and she kept at it. She ran for U.S. Senate, but she kept at it. She never burned her bridges. She kept her options open. She understood that there was a greater good to be achieved by continuing to be involved in the process. And that is really a great testament to her legacy.
Yeah, and just final thoughts. What do you think will be that lasting impact of Sheila Oliver's and her contributions to New Jersey politics?
Well, I think first and foremost, as the first Black woman to be lieutenant governor, first Black woman to be assembly speaker, she'll be long remembered for those roles. And in generations from now, people will point back to the pivot that New Jersey politics made because of those roles. And not just the fact that she held those roles, but how she acted in those roles, how she was a conciliator, how she reached out to achieve compromise, how she brought experience to bear for the Murphy administration and helped make that administration successful because of her legislative skills and the relationships she had through the years in government at every level.
Well, John Wisniewski, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, for sharing your memories and some of your stories with your time with Sheila Oliver. Thank you.
Glad to be here. Thank you very much.
And we thank you for watching. For the latest New Jersey news, head to OnNJ.com. I'm Laura Jones. We'll see you next time.